It is almost midnight. You open your bank app, not because you want to, because you have to, because something in your chest has been quietly bothering you since dinner, and you cannot name it until you see that number sitting there. And there it is, lower than it should be, again. You did not go on vacation, you did not buy anything crazy, you just lived. And somehow living costs more than you make, every single month, in ways you cannot fully trace. Now here is the part that is going to sting a little. You are not actually broke. Your income is real. Your job is stable. On paper, you should be fine. But the way you are living, the choices that feel totally normal, the things everyone around you does, those choices are quietly making you look broke, feel broke, and eventually become broke, even if your paycheck says otherwise. Today, I am going to walk you through exactly how that happens, not with judgment, because none of this is about character. It is about a set of invisible traps that were specifically designed to catch people who earn decent money and send every dollar right back out the door. Once you see them, you cannot unsee them. And the ones who unsee them are the ones who quietly start building something real. Picture two people, same city, same salary. Somewhere around $55,000 a year after taxes. Same kind of apartment, same grocery store, same phone plan. One of them is always a little behind, always slightly stressed before payday. Always surprised when the balance is lower than expected. They are not reckless. They are not gambling. They are not eating at five-star restaurants every night. They are just living, and somehow the living eats everything. The other one barely thinks about money at all, not because they earn more, not because they got lucky, but because somewhere along the way they quietly stopped doing the things that drain money and started doing the things that hold it. Small differences, almost invisible ones. But over a decade, those invisible differences add up to one person owning something and the other one wondering where it all went. The behaviors I am about to walk you through are the exact gap between those two people. Every single one of them is something the average person does without thinking. And every single one of them is something you can stop doing this week without earning a single extra dollar. The 10 habits that make you look broke. 1. You are funding a lifestyle you cannot actually afford. This is the big one. The one nobody talks about because everyone is doing it and it is completely normal, which is exactly why it is dangerous. The average American household spends just over $78,000 a year. Median household income in the U.S. sits around $74,000. That math does not work. And yet most people are pulling it off, not because they earn more, but because they are quietly borrowing from their future to fund their present. The car that is slightly nicer than you need, the apartment that is a little bigger than your income justifies, the phone upgrade every year, the vacations that go on a card and get paid off slowly. None of these feel reckless in the moment, because everyone around you is doing the exact same thing. But the moment you accept that your lifestyle should match your income instead of your aspirations, something changes. You stop performing wealth and start building it. Marcus, Atlanta, Georgia. Marcus was earning $58,000. He drove a $32,000 car on a 72-month loan, lived in an apartment that cost 38% of his take-home pay, and upgraded his phone every single year. He was not living extravagantly, he was living normally. And that was exactly the problem. When he mapped out where every dollar went, he realized he had been funding a lifestyle that cost $61,000 a year on a $58,000 income. The $3,000 gap was going on a card. Every year. For 4 years, you are paying for things you forgot you bought. There is a number here that genuinely rattles people. When researchers asked Americans to estimate their monthly subscription spending, the average guess was around $86. Then those same people were walked through their bank statements line by line. The real number was closer to $219. That is not a typo. Almost 9 in 10 people underestimate their subscriptions. More than 4 in 10 are actively paying for at least one they no longer use at all. The math across a year is staggering. Over $1, $600, quietly disappearing in amounts so small that no single charge ever feels worth the effort of canceling. That is the whole trick. $9.99 feels like nothing. 14 of them is a car payment you forgot you signed up for. Simone, Chicago, Illinois. Simone sat down one evening expecting to find maybe 2 or 3 forgotten charges. She found 9, a music service she had replaced, a fitness app from a new year she barely remembered, 2 streaming platforms she had not opened in months. Canceling the ones she no longer used freed up almost $90 a month. And she had been telling herself for years that she was careful with money. You treat split payments like free money. Buy now, pay later was designed by some of the smartest people in financial technology to do one specific thing: make the price disappear. Instead of seeing $240, you see $60 4 times. And your brain, which is very bad at multiplying, quietly decides, this is affordable. More than half of people who use these plans admit they spend more than they otherwise would have. Around 6 in 10 say they have used one to buy something they flat out could not afford. And the typical user is now carrying close to $2,000 spread across multiple apps at the same time, often without realizing the total exists. The rule that protects you is almost embarrassingly simple. If you cannot buy it in one payment today, you cannot afford it yet. Splitting a price into 4 pieces does not make the thing cheaper. It just arranges for the regret to arrive in installments, long after the excitement has worn off. You spend money to manage your emotions. A surprising share of all spending is not about the item being purchased. It is about a feeling being managed. Boredom looking for a spark. Stress looking for relief. Loneliness looking for a small hit of connection. Exhaustion, sadness, even celebration. All of them send a hand drifting toward a checkout button without any real decision being made. There is an old framework for catching this. The 4 states that quietly destroy spending discipline are being hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. When you are in any of them, your financial judgment drops without you noticing. Researchers studying impulse buying keep landing on the same finding. A huge portion of unplanned purchases happen specifically to chase a better mood rather than fill any genuine need. The habit that interrupts it is almost embarrassingly small. Before you buy, you stop for one breath and ask yourself honestly what you are actually feeling. If the truthful answer is bored, stressed, or tired, the purchase is treating an emotion, not solving a problem. And naming it out loud, even silently, loosens its grip more often than you would expect. You are invisible to your own money. The dread you feel checking your balance late at night comes from one thing above everything else: not knowing. Being ambushed by the consequences of your own decisions because you have been carefully avoiding the numbers for days. Avoidance is incredibly common among people struggling financially. The numbers feel like judgment, so they look away. And while they look away, the debt grows, the savings stagnate, and the avoidance deepens. The monthly surprise gets worse every cycle. The fix is a 5-minute weekly check-in, not in a panic at midnight. A calm, scheduled, almost boring glance at what came in, what went out, and what is coming next. That is it. No spreadsheet required, just awareness. Carla, Houston, Texas. Carla started doing this every Sunday morning with a cup of coffee. No drama attached, just 5 minutes. And the thing that surprised her most was how fast the fear drained away. You cannot fix what you refuse to look at. And you cannot overspend nearly as easily when you know someone is watching, even when that someone is only you. You save last and wonder why there is nothing left. There's a quiet pattern buried inside almost every household that struggles with money. They tell themselves they will save whatever is left over at the end of the month. And month after month, there is never anything left. This is not bad luck. It is math. Spending behaves like a gas. It expands to fill whatever space you give it. If $1,000 sits in your account after rent, $1,000 worth of reasons to spend it will appear by the 15th. The only way around this is to flip the order entirely. The day your paycheck lands, a set amount moves into savings automatically, before a single bill is paid and long before a single craving gets near it. Start at 5% if that is all you can manage, then raise it by 1 point every time you get a raise, so the extra never gets a chance to become your new normal. When the money vanishes before you can see it, you quietly adjust your whole life to the smaller number, and you barely feel the loss. You buy things at the speed of a tap. Swiping a card feels like almost nothing. Tapping a phone feels like even less. And none of that is an accident. There is a clear and well-documented relationship between how easy money is to part with and how much of it you part with. The faster and more frictionless the transaction, the more you spend every time across every study that has ever looked at this. The companies that removed that friction did not do it to make your life easier. They did it because your hesitation was their lost revenue. Every second of pause between wanting and buying is a second during which you might change your mind. They eliminated the pause on purpose. So you put the friction back. Delete your saved card details from the apps you shop on most. Log yourself out. Move the shopping apps off your home screen. If buying something in a weak moment means digging out a physical card and typing 16 digits by hand, a good chunk of impulse purchases quietly die somewhere around the 8th digit. You are measuring cost in dollars instead of time. A $90 pair of shoes does not cost $90. It costs whatever slice of your one and only life you had to trade to earn that $90 after taxes. This single reframe changes how purchases feel at a level no budget ever reaches. Start by figuring out what you actually keep per hour after the government takes its share. If that comes out to $20 an hour, that $90 pair of shoes is most of a half day of your life gone. A $60 dinner out is 3 hours of your labor handed across a counter. A $400 gadget is most of a working week. Run that math a few times, and silly purchases start to feel almost physical because you are no longer trading abstract dollars. You are trading mornings, afternoons, and evenings you cannot get back. Some purchases will still be completely worth it. That is exactly the point. The goal is not to stop you spending. It is to make every dollar pass through one honest question first. You have no idea what your triggers are. Most overspending does not begin with a decision. It begins with a notification. A flash sale email at the perfect lonely hour. A push alert dressed up as a favor. An advertisement that seems to know exactly what you have been thinking about, because in a very real sense, it does. Study after study of online shopping lands on the same uncomfortable finding. A huge portion of unplanned purchases are triggered by a discount the buyer was not even looking for. You were not hunting for it. It came hunting for you. Engineered to fire a tiny hit of dopamine right when your guard was down. You cannot reliably out-willpower a system that was designed and refined by professionals whose entire job is to break your willpower, so you stop fighting on their terms. Unsubscribe from every marketing email, turn off shopping notifications, mute the deal alerts. The cheapest purchase you will ever make is the one you were never shown in the first place. You do not have a maybe later list. When something catches your eye and it is clearly not a need, most people do one of two things. They buy it immediately, or they pretend they never wanted it, which makes the want grow louder. The habit that handles this better than either option is almost laughably low-tech. You write it down, a simple note on your phone, the item, the price, the date you wanted it. Then you let it sit there in silence for 30 days. Most of those wants, left alone with no action, simply die on the page. And when you come back a month later, you will look at half that list and genuinely puzzle over why you ever felt the pull. Reggie, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Reggie started keeping a list like this and made a quiet game of it, never deleting anything, just letting the entries pile up. After 6 months, he scrolled back through and counted more than 40 things he had been absolutely certain he needed in the moment. He had ended up buying 3. The other 37 wants had simply evaporated on their own, and the money that would have chased them was still sitting in his account. If any of this is landing for you, take 1 second to subscribe. This is exactly the kind of breakdown I work through every single week. the quiet mechanics behind why money stays for some people and quietly disappears for others. Now let us keep going, because the last few habits are where the real distance between getting by and getting ahead actually gets built. So there they are, 10 habits that quietly make you look broke even when you are not, and not one of them requires a higher income. Not one of them asks you to live like a monk. Every single one is a break you can install this week on the money you already have. The beautiful thing about breaks is that they keep working long after you stop thinking about them. Install them once, and they quietly protect you on your best days and your worst ones alike. But here's what I want you to do right now, not tomorrow, not next Monday. Right now, in the next 5 minutes, open your bank app and look at your last 30 days of transactions. Do not analyze. Do not spiral. Just look. Find one charge, just one, that surprised you, one subscription you forgot about, one purchase you cannot remember making. That one charge is your starting point. Cancel it, question it, or just acknowledge it. That is the whole exercise. Because the person who looks at their money today is a completely different person from the one who has been avoiding it. And that difference, that one small act of looking, is where everything else begins. If this helped, subscribe and drop a comment telling me the one charge you found. I read every single one.